Hey, what's up guys? John here. Europe is collapsing live. It's happening right now. They're going to start closing non-essential businesses due to this energy crisis. Russia is cutting them off. We're going to see a hell of a lot of change coming very, very soon. And these changes are coming to America. The same exact things, the same exact policies that are being implemented in Europe are going to be implemented in America. It's going to change real estate. It's going to change business. It's going to change the economy. It's going to change all of our lives in such a huge way. We just connect the dots, and that's what I'm going to do for you in this video. With that being said, please hit the like button. YouTube's going to share this content to educate more people about what's going on. So take a look at this. Liz Truss to become Britain's next prime minister, replacing Boris Johnson. They say right here in this article on CNBC that there's a 70% chance they're going to close all non-essential businesses. And they're going to do this because of the energy crisis. It says it right here. With little policy action undertaken so far, it seems likely that more significant steps will be required during the fall and winter, including non-essential industries being ordered to temporarily shut down or curtailments on public energy use in order to avoid the worst case scenario of rolling heating and power outages, which they gave a 70% probability. There's only a 30% chance that the UK can get through this winter without additional severe measures to reduce consumption. So that's happening at the same exact time that these small businesses are going through record high inflation. They're going through their own problems. And what's going to happen? How is this all going to change? Their solution to this is going to change housing. It's going to change everything that we know about living in cities. Euro slides below 99 cents after Russia halts gas supplies to Europe. European markets sink as Russia halts gas flows. Auto stocks fall 5%. Europe heading for recession as cost of living crisis deepens. Bloomberg, Goldman now sees UK economy entering Russia recession in fourth quarter. Could vacant offices be the solution for Brussels housing? Could vacant offices be the solution for Brussels housing crisis? A new report from Perspective.Brussels, a center dedicated to better urban development in the Belgian capital, says it's a good idea to counteract the housing crisis, which could be converting vacant office space into housing. Brussels has an estimated total vacant office space of 1 million square meters, which can serve to absolutely transform the housing market. Transformation could be lightning fast in comparison to the alternative, which is building more homes. Now you might say, well, what does this have to do with Europe collapsing? Well, if they're talking about pushing forward more closures on small business, on offices, that is going to put a large pocket of distress in the office sector, which is going to force more and more landlords that own office buildings to sell these buildings or to give them back to the bank, which could all be additional housing stock that could be supplied in the face of inflation, these rising energy costs. Well, it's not just happening there, this is happening everywhere. Turning residential, why it's poised to happen. Saving downtowns by converting office space. This is happening all over Dallas, LA, New York, all over the country. It's happening in Europe. It's going to be something that I think is going to have just a profound impact on everything. And here's how it breaks down. Turning downtown residential, why it's poised to happen. It seems logical that we would be rushing to turn vacant office buildings into apartments and condos. So far, it's not happening on a larger scale, but there are reasons to think it's in our urban future. Let's start off with a little exercise in deductive reasoning. First premise, in the past decade, there had been an increasing desire of young people to live near city centers. Second premise, urban downtowns are overstocked with empty or underused office buildings. Conclusion, well, you can figure out that conclusion. We should see a substantial conversion of office buildings to apartment buildings or condos. But why isn't it happening? Yes and no. The emptying of downtown office buildings is a phenomenon that is impossible to deny. A quarter of downtown offices are currently thought to be vacant. Gallup tells us that the number of vacancies is higher than at any other time in the last 30 years. A poll taken at the end of last year by the Partnership of New York City found that just 8% of downtown workers were back in the offices. So we're going to be moving in this direction. And we look at the data, right? So here's what is happening. Let's say, for example, there's 100,000 housing units in a city, right? Obviously, the number of supply of housing units versus the amount of demand for housing units is going to increase the rents, right? That being said, if another 100,000 or 200,000 housing units are added overnight due to these conversions, what will likely happen? There would be 300,000, 200,000 housing units for 1 million people, meaning rents would be coming down. They'd be coming down. Rents will fall for the 100,000, right? But it wouldn't be a 5 or 10% fall. It would be substantial. If you double the housing stock, obviously rents would probably drop by 50%. Rents are what determines the value of commercial real estate. So if rents fall, so will the value, and so will the tax revenue. And so as this happens, what happens if tax revenue falls is there's generally more crime because there's a higher probability that you can get away with that crime because you don't have the budget to support a police force. The second thing is there's going to be more trash inside of the city because they won't have the money for street services to clean up that trash. The cities will start to really go through a big change. And most landlords are going to walk from their properties if they can't earn a profit and begin suffering losses. This is even going to be more so true than residential properties, and here's why. This is based in Europe. Greater systematic risk in CRE markets relative to RRE, residential real estate, rise not only because of their higher volatility, but also because commercial real estate loans have a higher default rate. A key reason for this is that the majority of commercial real estate loans are effectively made on non-recourse basis, so that in the event of a default, the lender only has a claim on the underlying property and not the borrower's other assets, which the consequence that borrowers may opt to default rather than inject more of their own capital. Since CRE, commercial real estate, is held purely for economic reasons, borrowers may default as soon as there's no longer considered necessary for this purpose. By contrast, residential mortgages are typically extended on a recourse basis. Commercial real estate, you'll put 30 to 40% of the entire purchase price as a down payment, whereas residential, in some cases, you can put 3.5% to 20% down payment because it's based on the income and the qualifications of the borrower, whereas the commercial real estate is based on the income from that asset. So, in addition, residential real estate is not only an investment, but also a consumption good. Borrowers purchase residential property to live in. Higher default rates on commercial real estate loans are, to some extent, both a result and a cause of the higher volatility of the CRE markets. What's going to happen if rents continue to fall? And I think this is going to happen because as they close businesses down, as energy prices rise, as there's more food inflation, there is going to be a demand for more affordable housing. And they have all these empty office buildings that are simply sitting there. And as they start to find ways in which people can occupy these properties and repurpose these commercial properties for residential dwellings, it will then really have a big impact on all the commercial real estate and on the desirability of living in cities. Right? This isn't just happening though in Europe. This is happening everywhere. It's all happening at the same exact time. So price will have to come down in dramatic fashion for new investors. So this is what I think. I think if they add significant supply to the housing stock, then what's going to happen? Obviously, property taxes are going to be coming down, rents will be coming down, and then new investors will be able to come in there and buy these properties based on their true value, based on the new changes, right? That's what I think is going to happen. I think we could see a wave of this change throughout cities across Europe, across America over the next few years. So with this change, property values will fall, tax revenue fall, crime's going to increase, streets will be filled with trash, and I think the only way that they're going to be able to clean up these cities is probably going to be through technology. That's what I think. So technology, and in addition to this, before we even talk about the technology, interest rates are rising. So when you buy commercial real estate, one of the key components is not just the rent, but it's also the cost of debt. So if you can, let's say, for example, buy a $5 million property and you could get financing for 2% or 3% or 4%, you're obviously going to be able to extract more cash flow from that deal because the cost for debt is so inexpensive. However, if the cost of debt is increasing and then rents are falling, you have a higher cost to enter the deal and you have less income to secure from that deal. So what's ultimately going to happen is going to be significant price depreciation on these assets. And so what we're even looking at right now this is Minneapolis, they're bill expanding to use drones. This is in Ireland, expected later this year. This is what I think is going to be happening. This is going to be an easy way in which they're going to be able to surveil the streets. They're going to be able to, make sure that no one's committing crimes and that, everything is how they want it to be. But commercial real estate is going to go through a major change. I believe small business, and that depends on brick and mortar foot traffic, could be in big trouble if they move forward in this direction. What do you think about this entire situation? Do you think that we're going to likely see this complete merge of living in, living standards, everything, where we're going to be merging from what we were used to into this new thing, because they're even going as far as saying that this is actually going to be good. And look, converting office buildings to apartments is cheaper and greener than building new, right? This is going to be the movement. I'm telling you guys, this is what's going to happen. Converting office buildings to apartments is cheaper and greener than tearing down old office properties and building new residential buildings. That may explain why several developers in some large cities have acquired office properties to convert to residential use. It's a trend that could gain momentum in a post-pandemic environment where vacancies and office towers are on the rise and prospects for leasing them are not good. Office towers had advantages for residential conversions, among them adequate electricity, plumbing, infrastructure, and comfortable ceiling heights for apartments. Developers in cities including Dallas, Houston, New York, Salt Lake have announced office to apartment conversions. Most office properties can be converted to residential use. This is what's going to happen. I actually think it's going to be a great investment opportunity in a lot of these cities over the next 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years, as these businesses are going to be crushed. All these investors are going to run out there. So that's going to be the opportunity. People are going to be running out there and doing this and buying up all of these properties, because these assets are based on their income. So if these office buildings are producing 50% less income, 60% less income, what's going to happen? The value is going to fall by 50 or 60% usually. And so investors are going to be able to go in there, invest a little bit of money. They're going to be able to repurpose these buildings. They're going to be able to rent them. And then even if they rent them at a very, very, very low price point, they're going to be able to pack those buildings with a ton of tenants. And then ultimately, it's going to force more distress where they're going to be able to go out and buy the other people's properties, and on and on and on. This is what's going to happen. Drop your comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this entire situation. What's happening in Europe is coming to America. It's already here. Drop below, hit the like button, subscribe here, subscribe to my second channel as well. And also on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you want to fix your credit, maybe you want to buy real estate when things hit the fan, cashnow.video. If you want to get on the YouTube grind with me, cashnow.video. If you want to learn how to get started on YouTube, cashnow.video. If you'd like to sponsor your business on my channel, cashnow.video. And also, if you'd like to be an affiliate for cashnow.video, there's more information down below. You would need to be in front of customers that are, having a hard time getting financing. So potentially in the auto industry, solar industry, real estate industry, someone inside of those industries, so we can help them fix their credit. And then ultimately, you'll be able to receive monthly recurring revenue, and a lot of other opportunities and benefits. Plus, your customer would be able to, later buy your product or service. All right, guys, I'll catch you in the next video.